If the 2025 UK budget has cemented your growing feeling of, I seem to be paying more but getting less, you're not alone. Reports have shown that over 9,500 high net worth individuals and families left the UK in 2024, and that number is predicted to be over 16,500 more by the end of 25, between higher taxes on investment income, rising living costs, VAT on school fees and a general sense of declining living standards. Many British families and high net worth individuals are asking the same question. Is it time to make a change? And more specifically, is Spain the upgrade I've been looking for? Hi, I'm Luke from Hackett Estates in Sotogrande, Spain. And in this video, I'm breaking down what the budget actually means for people with assets, investments, property income, or children in private education, and why Spain has become one of the most compelling alternatives for UK residents going into 2026. So, what did the budget really do to your money? The recent budget was fairly uninspiring to the public, who are growing more disgruntled by the day, and if you look at the numbers, it hit three groups particularly hard. Firstly, company directors and investors. Dividend tax will go up by 2 percentage points from 2026. Whilst this doesn't sound a big jump, it now means you'll pay between 10.75% and a whopping 39.35%, and that is on top of you already paying corporation tax. Secondly, landlords and savers. Rental income and savings interest will both jump 2 percentage points also. This now sits between 22 and 45% on earnings from rentals. With increasing utilities, mortgages that are going up, this is another strain on landlords. Lastly, professionals and employees. The government didn't raise income tax rates, they froze the thresholds instead. Whilst it sounds great, and Labour have argued this is what they promised in their manifesto, a freeze actually means as wages rise with inflation, more of your income is quietly dragged into a higher tax band. It's a classic stealth tax. You pay more every year without realising. So, in the UK, dividend tax is up, rental income tax is up, tax on savings is up, and you'll end up paying more in income tax every year until 2029. And all of this lands on top of VAT on private schools, rising mortgage costs, declining public services, and record NHS waiting lists. It's no surprise that many families and wealth holders are now running the numbers and choosing elsewhere. But why Spain? Now, I won't lie, Spain is no tax haven. It has always been known for its lifestyle rather than financial attractiveness. But let's compare the two countries in the economic areas that matter most to people genuinely considering a move. Starting with tax on investments and passive income. In Spain, dividends, interest and capital gains all fall under savings tax, which ranges from 19% at the low end up to 30% for very large portfolios. However, the majority will fit in the 19 to 23% brackets. That's still far below the UK's new tax rates, taken anywhere from 35 to 47%. Now, let's talk about the big one, inheritance tax. The UK is notoriously bad on inheritance tax. You don't pay anything on estates up to £1 million, but after that you pay up to 40%. Andalusia also has an allowance of €1 million, but here's the difference. After that, only a 1% gift tax when passing property and money to close family. It's basically free. So, if your wealth comes from dividends, investments, or property, Spain often taxes you significantly less than the UK, and you're combining that with a much lower cost of living. Furthermore, Spain and in particular Andalusia have some great tax regimes for high earners, and we'll explain the Beckham Law later in this video, which allows many British nationals to pay a flat rate of just 24% tax on their income. Let's move on to the cost of living. The UK, especially the South, has simply become expensive. And since Brexit, inflation on everyday goods and utilities have gone through the roof. Let alone house prices and rentals. People are struggling to buy everyday essentials and fear to leave the heating on. On average, the UK is around 30% more expensive than Spain, and London can be anywhere from 80 to 130% more expensive. Restaurants, childcare, utilities, property, private health and schooling all cost less in Spain. London has seen a huge increase in rental prices over the last few years, and you would expect to be paying £2,000 a month for a one-bed apartment in the capital, whereas you could get a three-bed place on the Costa del Sol for the same price. Equally, the average price per square metre for property in London is almost double that of the Costa del Sol, including the well-known international areas such as Marbella and Sotogrande. Your money simply goes further with property. Next up, private school fees. This has hit the headlines lately, and those opting to send their children to private school in the UK. On average, parents are paying £20,000 plus per year on fees. Now, 20% VAT has been applied by the government in the latest budget, meaning a child from age 15 to 18 can now cost close to £450,000 to £500,000. Compare that to Spain. Top British or international schools on the Costa del Sol typically range anywhere from €7,000 to €18,000 a year, plus there is no VAT on school fees. And these schools have equally modern campuses, are English-speaking and globally accredited. Sometimes more so than British private schools, with the option of not just A-levels but also the IB. For families with 2 to 3 children, the saving alone can pay for your entire relocation and then some. In the UK, the NHS waiting lists are historically high. Brits are struggling to get appointments, and there are shortages in not just beds, but also in staff since Brexit. We won't go into the politics, but the government has been promising more spending for the last 12 years, and even more so in the latest budget. But increasingly, the public do not feel like they receive what they are paying for anymore. In Spain, once you have residency, you can access public healthcare, which is modern and efficient. And if you opt for private healthcare, it's fast, affordable, and often English-speaking. Many British expats combine both, and private is up to half the cost of UK private medical insurance. Lastly, we look at accessibility and quality of life. With just a 2 to 3 hour flight back to the UK, it is easy to keep business ties, it is easy to visit family, and you are close enough for comfort, but further enough away from the political and economic stress. And the lifestyle? This one speaks for itself. 320 days of sunshine, outdoor living, a Mediterranean diet, international communities, and a calmer pace of life. And what's more, the outdoor lifestyle is free. Spain is a million miles apart from the 9 to 5 rat race we often associate with the UK. I have done both, and for me, there is no comparison in the quality of life. And with increasing taxes on wealth and earnings, dwindling pensions, and ever-increasing day-to-day prices, Brits are having to work harder, for longer, just to survive, let alone to live. Post-Brexit, British residents are not allowed to spend more than 180 days in Europe, including Spain. So if you want to relocate and be in Spain for more than 180 days, you need to gain residency. As of 2025, the Golden Visa has gone. This was the easiest way to gain residency, and it was gained through buying a property or properties with value above €500,000. However, there are still other options. Number 1, the non-lucrative visa. Most commonly used for retirees or those with pensions or passive income, and therefore not needing to rely on the state. If you can prove you have enough money in the bank and do not need help, such as healthcare, you can apply via this route quite easily. Second of all, and more popular recently, is the digital nomad visa, designed for remote workers and UK business owners who work from Spain. This is often the most sought after route for those still working and earning, and the great thing is, combined with the Beckham law, you can end up paying a very low rate of tax on your earnings. I will explain more on that very shortly. Last of all, standard work and entrepreneur visas. This visa is for those launching a business or taking employment locally. Generally, with the criteria of investing at least €1 million into a business in Spain, or if you are being employed, the company must sponsor your visa. For more detailed information on visa options, please get in contact. We do have dedicated lawyers and experts that help you apply and gain visas and residency in Spain. We have helped dozens make the move and gain residency in Spain. So, what is the Beckham law that I keep mentioning? I have teased you with it a few times, and it was originally introduced when David Beckham moved to Real Madrid, hence the nickname. Spain has a special expat tax regime called the Beckham law. If you move to Spain for work, you can choose to be taxed like a non-resident for up to 6 years. This is mainly adopted by entrepreneurs, remote workers, and digital nomads, and this gives them major tax advantages. Those on the scheme pay a flat rate of 24% tax on your Spanish salary up to €600,000. Those on the scheme pay a flat 24% tax on your Spanish salary up to €600,000, and your foreign income, dividends, investments, rental income is generally not taxed in Spain at all. You're also exempt from Spanish wealth tax on assets outside of Spain. For many professionals and business owners leaving the UK, this can make Spain far more financially attractive. With the recent budget and the increase to taxes across the board under Labour, we have seen a huge shift of high net worth individuals deciding to leave the UK. Many are opting for tax havens such as Dubai, purely based on financials, but tax structures such as the Beckham Law, combined with the more normal life and proximity you get with Spain, it remains the main country of choice for those leaving the UK. Sun, sea and tax savings. What's not to like? Now comes the decision point. When you look at everything side by side, the contrast is pretty clear. In the UK, you're facing higher taxes between 35 and 47% on investment income, rental tax and dividend tax. There's more expensive school fees, frozen tax thresholds, a higher cost of living and longer waits for basic services. All of that means less disposable income and more pressure on day-to-day life. In Spain, you're looking at 19 to 30% tax on most investment incomes, a notably lower cost of living, more affordable school fees, excellent healthcare, and a healthier climate and lifestyle. Life is simply more stable and more affordable, and you get to really live. If you're considering a move, the next best step is simple. Download our free guide, the British Expat's Handbook, Your Post-Brexit Life in Spain. It covers in more detail residency, taxes, schooling, areas to live and a step-by-step relocation timeline. Thanks for watching. We hope to see you in Spain soon.